My friends, we've discussed GoldenEye's oldest record, Runway Agent 22. We've dissected GoldenEye's second oldest record, Surface 1 Agent 102. So yes, today it's time to discuss GoldenEye's third oldest record, Statue 00 Agent 218. Statue is a unique level in that it has the same objectives across all three difficulties, and despite traditionally being the hardest, 00 Agent usually ends up being the fastest of the three, or when a new second is to be cut from the stage, it'll happen first on 00 Agent. This is because there's no real threat of the guards causing you to pass away, but the guards are more accurate on 00 Agent, so you're more likely to get boosts, which are faster. It's a notorious level that requires excellent strafing, execution of a tricky trick, and then completing a luck-based objective to reach your world record glory. So of course, one can only ask, is Statue 217 possible? Statue, and particularly 00 Agent, is one of the most storied levels in the game, and we need to explore that story to understand the full gravity of a potential Statue 217. Statue can be a pretty confusing level to new players, especially those who aren't used to the labyrinthian layout of a video game level, or those who don't know how to adjust the brightness on their television. But speedrunners pretty quickly got good, and the world records initially settled at 226 across all three difficulties by 2001 and through 2002. These 226s were tied by two legendary figures in the GoldenEye community: former champion Big Boss Man, and the creator of the Elite website himself, Derek Clark. However, in March 2003, a huge time saver was discovered, which shook up the level for good. You see, at the meeting with Yanis, Objective B, who later reveals himself to be your old 00 Agent buddy Alec Trevelyan, it was discovered by Trent H that if you shot Trevelyan, he would begin his speech with Bond as soon as he recovered from the shot, rather than beginning his speech when he reached this specific spot on the map. This new strategy was hence dubbed the Trev Shot. Injuring guards or others in GoldenEye results in several recovery animations, and the fastest of which is a quick shot to the chest, much faster than one where you hit their arm or leg. So once the strategy was refined and speedrunners were able to quickly shoot Trevelyan's chest as soon as he spawns once you touch this statue, by the way, the level progressed down to records of 2 minutes 20 seconds on all three difficulties, an untied sweep by none other than Boss. The Trev Shot is very tricky, however, since sometimes it'll just randomly fail, even if you get a clean shot. And you're pretty far away, so you're going off more feel and muscle memory rather than actually seeing where you're firing. If you hit Trev in the head, he'll pass away, rendering the level uncompletable. And if you hit him in the arm or leg, you'll get a much slower reaction, losing time. Oh yeah, if the name of the discoverer of this strategy, Trent H, sounded familiar, it's because, yes, this is the same guy who nearly a decade later would discover that if you took a dismantled Nintendo 64 controller, plugged it into the second controller slot, and pushed down on the circuitry, it does all sorts of buggy things to the game's timer. A technique that, while super cool, is banned by the speedrunning community. So Trent has a history of discovering all sorts of wacky things in the game, some useful in speedrunning, some not so much. Now, before we proceed, we need to talk about the key moment of any statue run. Objective E, find flight recorder. You see, once you finish your discussion with Trevelyan, a 3-minute countdown timer begins. The timer hitting 0 means a bomb placed inside the chopper will explode. You have to strafe all the way back to the beginning of the stage, locate this helicopter, Objective C, get close to the chopper to awake Natalia, part of Objective D, and then the timer trips from wherever it was to 15 seconds left. At the end of those 15 seconds, a couple things happen. For one, if Natalia has been awakened and is far enough away from the chopper, Objective D completes. And for two, the flight recorder will get thrown out of the chopper in the explosive chaos and land somewhere back in the statue park. It can land in any one of 9 locations, based on a random bit being generated by the game's random calculator. Most of the locations, including the one which is fastest to pick up, have a 30 out of 256 chance of spawning there. 30 out of 256 is roughly 11.719% chance of getting the closest and fastest flight recorder spawn. Obviously, the ideal strategy for optimal world records early on would simply be to activate the 15-second chopper countdown and then go stand in the location of the fastest flight recorder spawn, hope you get lucky, and run to the end, completing the mission. Obviously, if the flight recorder doesn't land there and you go turn around to find where it landed, this will cost you several seconds, and thus your speedrun will not be world record pace. This entire process was slightly optimized in this era. When it was discovered you had just enough time to go open this large gate at the end of the mission, then run to the best flight recorder position and get there just in time to pick it up, if you were lucky, and continue running at full speed to the ending. However, this did present a small danger. If you slightly mistimed your running, you might end up overrunning the flight recorder spawn. You might have run a little past the point you could pick it up, even if it landed there, being forever unsure if you got the right luck on a failed run. Okay, it'd be 2 years before anyone would tie Boss's 220s, that being former top 3 player Dan Chervone, managing the ties on Secret and Double Agent in 2005. However, in 2006, 6 more players would join the pair at 220, a significant number in such a smaller community at that time. This led to a race between many for the coveted first ever Statue Double Agent 219. So again, to be clear, in order to get Statue 219, you'd have to get a speedrun at that pace. Maybe your strafing was a little tighter, maybe your Trev Shot was a couple frames earlier, maybe you got a few more boosts. You'd get to the end and hope you'd get that 30 out of 256 or 11.719% lucky flight recorder position, completing the mission and getting the record. 88% of the time, however, you wouldn't get the luck and you'd be left with a failed 219. Very unfortunate. As the legend goes, one of the guys with 220, Jimmy Bauer, had some 30 plus odd 219 fails on the level without a single completion. Another runner, Mouser's Scribe, claimed about 20 or 30 219 fails himself. Combined with a handful of other runners who had a handful of 219 fails themselves, Elite Mythos claims the community was a collective 0 for 72 in getting the flight recorder on 219 pace runs by December 2006. Now, looking back with modern, deeper understanding, we can calculate the chances of missing the flight recorder 72 times in a row by putting 226 out of 256 to the power of 72. This gives us a 0.01266281% chance that one could go 72 straight runs with no flight recorder. While it's possible we experienced what 1 in 10,000 communities would have experienced about the flight recorder, we can be pretty sure that in at least some of those runs, the speedrunners overran the flight recorder, likely choking the 219 untied by mistiming the pickup by a couple of frames. Finally, on December 19, 2006, Dan Chervone dropped the hot 219s on both Secret Agent and Double Agent with video proof to the rankings, putting an end to the long and epic quest towards the time. Once one person gets a time and the mental barrier is removed, it becomes easier for others to join in. So by May 2007, Jimmy Bauer, Eddie Lovins, and Boss would all join Dan with the 219s. Throughout this time, however, many new players were coming along, setting insane records and threatening Boss's long-standing position as GoldenEye champion, namely Perfect Ace and Dave Clemens, with Clemens taking the #1 spot from Boss on the overall rankings in February 2008. Boss tried as he might to maintain the #1 spot, setting new records and personal bests, but he just couldn't maintain the same pace as the other two. So rather than try to keep his head above water by grinding out 1-second PBs on every level, he turned his sights elsewhere, wanting to set what would be a career-defining, legendary world record to really cement his legacy as an all-time great. And for that, he eyed up Statue 00 Agent 218. There were really no new strategy innovations, but with perfect strafing and gameplay, 219s had been done with 0 boosts. So Boss stood to reason that with a 3-boost run, 218 might barely be possible. Of course, the question of how many 218 pace runs might you need before getting the lucky 11% flavor recorder was a daunting one. But on March 22, 2008, Boss revealed he had completed just that, a Statue 00 Agent 218 with 3 beautiful boosts. We knew it was an amazing record, but time would really prove just how amazing. By 2012, it had become the longest standing untied ever in the game's history, which puts a huge target on its back, as the prestige of being the LSU Slayer is enticing for many. Even so, it would still be another year before anyone would match the record, when Mark Rutsu would finally get the flavor recorder after what he claimed were 28 failed 218 runs in March 2013. Mark's run was done in the earlier days of Twitch streaming and includes one of GoldenEye's earliest stream meme lines.
Let's run a slap, try to affect the FR.
Oh, is it enough? I think it's enough. I think it's 218. Holy shit, I got it. Finally. Woo.
All in all, Boss's 218 00 Agent stood untied for just shy of 5 years. 1,812 days. Which, yes, was the longest ever when it was finally matched. And today is the 5th longest standing untied in GoldenEye history. What's even more impressive is that 218 is still the record today, having been tied by 11 other people. So it still stands as the record, more than 11 and a half years old, or over 4,200 days old. This puts it 8th all-time in terms of longest lasting records overall. And most impressively, this means Statue 00 Agent 218 is one of only 2 records ever set in the history of GoldenEye, along with Jungle Secret Agent 53, that were both a top 10 longest standing untied record ever, and a top 10 standing record of all time. Of the thousands of records that have been set and lowered through the 20-year history of GoldenEye speedrunning, these 2 stand alone in taking more than 4 years for anyone else to merely tie, and more than 10 years for anyone to beat. And Statue 00 218 still hasn't been beaten yet. Suffice to say, when Boss set out on a quest to get an all-time great world record, he did just that. But where do we stand on the level today? Well, interestingly, in those 11 years, there have hardly been any new strategy improvements. We've tried looking for places to clip out of bounds, or ways to leave the Trevelyan discussion early, but nothing major seems to have worked. There are a couple locations where modern convention has us going on the other side of a statue here or there, but these only save a couple frames at best. You can see near the start, Boss will go to the left side of this rampy concrete thing, while newer players will go on the right. Or on the way back from the Trevelyan encounter, Boss will stay on the right of this cement block, while new convention has us hanging a left. But these literally save maybe 2 or 3 frames at most. The biggest time save does come from the generic use of a 2.x control style on the level, saving 0.3 seconds by starting at full speed. This is exceptionally tricky on Statue though, as it requires you to strafe Valentin out from his initial position using the 2 control sticks. With the C buttons in 1.2 style, it's pretty easy, but to coordinate the movement between 2 control sticks on 2 separate controllers, it's pretty tough. You can hear the control sticks slapping around here on this run.
I didn't have a chance to do 17, I just gotta be cooking the whole time. Can't be fun.
And you can see that when comparing this 2.x run with some 1.2 Val strafes from 15 years ago, they still end up pretty even. So yeah, it's hard to do. This 2.x run, by the way, a 3 booster from newer player Brent McGarvey, done on August 31st of this year, of which 2 of the boosts seem to be the more ideal chained boosts, happened to be the first ever 217 legit fail, confirming that, yes, Statue 217 is indeed possible.
Is this a 217 fail? Legit? Legit. Can fail. That's legit. Fail, dude.
It just happens that on this run, the flight recorder landed in one of the 8 wrong positions, and thus not a completed 217. But if McGarvey simply got a little luckier, he would have collected the untied world record and slayed this 11-year-old world record. So if McGarvey can keep it up and get another handful of 217 fails, we could see this historic record fall very soon. Some players will get a completed 218 on their first or second ever runs of that pace. When Boss got the original 218, he had 15 218 fails before the 218 completed. While if we look at Gus Riola, one of the more recent people to get 218 Double Agent, he claims 48 failed 218s beforehand. Chances are he was overrunning the flight recorder spot like mad. The odds of 48 straight fails in a row without a single completion are 0.2%, but it's not impossible that he just got that unlucky. McGarvey's 217 fail was truly a watershed moment on Statue in confirming beyond any doubt that an amazing 3-boost run with 2.x control style can get it, breaking any mental barrier that may have remained in pursuing the record. I expect to see efforts for 217 ramp up in the near future, which will likely culminate in someone getting the record within the next couple of years. 217 still may be challenging enough even to just pace, that the pieces won't come together in the next few months, but I think a completed 217 is likely to happen sometime in 2020 or 2021 at the latest. I'd be stunned if we make it into January 2022 with still no Statue Double Agent 217. Given the swath of talented new players speedrunning GoldenEye 007 lately, surely one of them will want to cement their name in speedrunning history, the same way Boss did with his incredible 218 run all those years ago. So good luck out there, gamers. May the RNG gods be kind in your quest for 217 glory. So there's the story of Statue Double Agent 218, GoldenEye's 3rd oldest standing record, and one of GoldenEye's most truly storied and legendary world records. And yes, 217 is indeed possible, so I hope you enjoyed this video and learned a little more about Statue Double Agent. If you did, make sure to leave a like to improve flight recorder odds. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next stream or video.